How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another platformer tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to be adding in some things that we may have missed, and then we are just going to design our menu layout and our win-death layout screen before we actually program that and the music. So what we're going to do is we're going to double-click, and we're going to add a new particle effect first. This particle effect is going to be for our wall slide. It's just something fun that you can add in. I'm going to make it 6 by 6 pixels, and I want to make it stand out, so I'm just going to make it this bright green. You can match the colors that we have here or whatever color your wall is. I'm going to call this object wall particle. And what I want to do is I actually want to go down here. Let me move this to the layer entities. And I want to change the spray cone to be, let's go for 360 and see how that works. And the other thing I want to do here is I want to change the rate to be, let's cut that in half. Let's say 25, and I need to change the size. So we made our sprite 6 by 6. Let's just make this size of 2. And let's add some gravity to this, the force of gravity. Let's add 50 in pixels per second. What we want to do in addition to that is we just want to add in a fade behavior. This will actually destroy it after one shot, which technically we don't really need, but I kind of like how it looks. You could just change the type from continuous spray to one shot, but I think this looks nicer. So what we're going to do now with our object wall particle is we're going to go to our power up, and in our power up, in our wall slide in particular, we're going to grab this event and hit B. We're going to say system trigger once, and this is going to be where we also put our music. So let's write music as well. I'll control G that for our bookmarks for later. And what we're going to do is we're just going to spawn it. We're going to have our player spawn in our object wall particle. And we're going to make sure that it spawns onto the entities layer and hit OK. We might need to actually move it back down. We might need to move it down on the Z order in code in case it spawns on top of our player, but I think it'll be so small that it really just doesn't matter. This is just something else that you can put in if you would like to. So what we can do now is we can actually tell it to destroy itself. So we have a way for it to spawn, but let's take our wall slide and hit B. Let's double click and let's say if the player is on the floor, let's hit B and let's do another trigger once. Then we can destroy the wall particle because it'll be created again the next time we wall slide. So let's see how that looks. And we should be right by our power up. So let's grab our power up and let's wall slide. Perfect. So it's kind of just like something you should mess around with. Just some cool little feature that you could add. You can make it the color of the wall and you can make it do some cooler things that this probably isn't doing for you. But you know, you can mess around with it and see what works. Just kind of have it there as a bonus. You can make it the same color as the grass. And that's one thing right here. I want to fix this collision to be like that collision. So let's go back and do that. Let's go to our tile map and let me lock this layer, select our tile map. And I believe it is this tile here that needs some adjusting. So let's push this over, see how far over this wants to go here. I'm going to put this to 4 maybe. We might as well go 5. We'd go 5 for all these points, so we might as well stick with it. Let's go to 5. Let's make sure that that's at 5 and hit OK and hit save. And let's try to wall slide on that now. This might actually mess up some collision for us when it comes to those corner pieces, but it should fix that. Okay, so it fixed this, and that actually is a little too deep, but you can see here that as soon as it gets to this corner piece, it stops because the corner piece collision is a little bit more thick, as you can easily tell. Oh, wow, it's completely different. So we have to fix that, and we have to do the inverse, which would be this side. So let's actually put this to, let's put these both to, let's go 4. And I just held down control to select both of them, but usually that works. I kind of moved the Y on that one. Let's try 4 and see how that does, and then we'll mess around with the other collisions. And this is just kind of nitpicking things. You know, you could be fine with collision that wall slides like that, but that looks a little bit better. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just do that for the opposite side as well. We're going to move the X 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, and we're done there. We've now matched the X as long as the Y is perfect, which it is. And then let's go and let's do these corner pieces. So let's match up this corner piece to this one. And we're going to need to put this guy over 1, 2, 3, 4 pixels and 1, 2, 3, 4 pixels and hit OK. And now that should be perfect. And let's do that for the bottom corner as well, which should be this piece. Double click there. And I can control click and select them, and I can move them both over 4 pixels. And the Y would need to go up, but because this is not, we never changed the bottom of this because we're not going to be walking on the bottom, we should be good there. Let's see what else might have gotten messed up because of that. This corner piece got messed up because of that. So what we need to do for this corner piece is a little bit more intricate. We need to actually add in another point. So let's put this guy, let's put him down 5. And let's right click and add a point. Let's add a point on the other point. Let's put this to, let's see where it's at. So this needs to go down and then up. Let's try putting this at 5 and see if that is okay. So it's not terrible. I think this is at 4 actually. It's not terrible. There we go. That matches. So that kind of collision and that kind of precision that you get from this is pretty nice. And then we'd have to do over here as well. And you see, as soon as you mess with one of them, you have to fix the rest of them. So that's kind of just what happens when we do this. Let's put this to 28, and that should be better. So hopefully we don't get as stuck now. You can see up here, that should look good. Let's see up here. Hopefully we won't get as stuck when it comes to certain corners. I'm trying to think if there's any other corner pieces on this that might get us really stuck. Like this one, the opposite of this. So let's go over here. Let's move this to, no, go to 28. And let's put this one to, is it 5 or yeah, it is 5. 5 and 28, the opposite sides. That should be better. Let's move this spike over like that. Okay, so I think our collisions are fixed. Just make sure that you are aware of your collisions. I don't want to see people having trouble because of a collision error like that, because even though it's a frustrating one, especially if you're like right here, you could get stuck right here. You know, you want to just be aware of that as a surrounding, and you might want to make sure that you actually have your collisions all lined up properly. Now, stuff like this, I'm not too worried about. But when it comes to the wall slide, I want to make sure that I can wall slide down perfectly and I don't get stuck anywhere, because otherwise people are going to be really confused and think your game is broken. So now we should be able to wall slide really nicely. It looked like I did get stuck there. I see that we kind of get stuck on the platform, but you can always jump through the platform. Let's see if I get stuck here. I get stuck right there for some reason. So let's see. Oh, I get stuck because you can tell right here, this corner piece needs to be adjusted. So let's adjust this over down to 28, and doesn't matter about the bottom area because it's all the same. We're not going to be walking on the bottom area, but if you did like a gravity platformer or something cool like that, then it would be very important. But now we should be able to slide, which we are. Awesome. Cool. So this guy didn't bump into that collision because of this, which is a little bit of a problem because this is not exact. This is more of a diagonal here. He didn't bump into the collision the way we intended it to. So we have two potential fixes here. We might actually want to keep this because I can see here that we have some corner pieces that kind of rely on it. But in case we don't need to keep it, let's just match it up. It would be this piece here. And we would just move this over to 28. But then what we would need to do is we would need to add in another point. And we would need to put it like right there at 5. Oops, go down to 5. And there we go. So now it's more of a corner rather than this. I wonder if it gets stuck on the other corner too. Let's go take a look. He might be stuck, and he is. So mess around with it. See what works for your game and what doesn't. Obviously, you can add points and delete points just by right-clicking on them. So see what works really, and really test it before you actually go out and say, oh, it's a little broken. Because usually the answer is a lot easier than you think. What did this have to do? This needed to go to 5? I don't remember. Is this guy not at 5? It's not. This needed to go to 4. That's what this needed to do. So this needs to go down 1, and so does this. It's a lot easier with the arrow keys. All right, so hopefully that'll bounce off now, and if not, then we always have our other solution, which is to just put in our own enemy colliders there. But it looks like it's bouncing off again. Awesome. Cool. So those are some fixes we need to make. Let's start to fix, or let's actually add one more thing here. Now this is kind of, I'm going to call this a more experimental feature. I'm going to put this in because I think it's worthy of showing to you, but I think that it would need a little bit more tender love and care. So what we're going to do is we're going to clone the object SF HUD coins. And again, don't feel obligated to purchase this sprite font, but you can always use your own sprite fonts or just the default sprite font or even a text object. Let's call this our SF timer. And the only thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into our event sheet, and I'm going to go all the way to the top. And on the every tick, I'm going to set SF timer's text to be, do I want to set it to, I think all I have to do is, no, I need to actually make a variable. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a variable. I'm going to call this in-game time, and I'm not going to set it to anything. I might set it to 0. Maybe I'll set it to 1. No, we can leave it at 0. I'm going to leave this at 0, and then I'm going to set SF timer text to just be, no, not to DT, to add 1. So wait a second. What do I need to do here? We need to figure out, okay, yes. Set the text of SF timer to in-game time. Then what I want to do is I want to add DT to that. So what DT is going to do every single second is it's going to add 1, and that's just going to be a counter for us. There's a whole thing on frame rate independence and why you use DT or why you should use delta time everywhere, and it's a really fun read, and you should definitely check it out. Basically what it's saying here is every single second it's going to add 1, so in case that you did drop frames, it'll still be dependent, it'll still be independent, it'll still work. So what this is going to do here, if I hit play and if I did it correctly, is we're going to have this long thing, a long timer for our game, and this is going to be just kind of like testing our trial, how fast we do this entire game here. And so what we want to do is we want to actually set the text to be integer in game time. And now what this should do is it should, there it goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, or what you could also do instead, if you don't like that, and what I kind of like to do here is put in a float. And what this is going to do is not going to be as many numbers, it's just going to be more, okay, I guess it is a lot of numbers. Okay, well in that case, let's just leave it at int. I like that better. And that way we just have a way to track how long you've actually been in this level. And this is the only way to do it that I've found. I don't believe there's another way to do it with any timer things or anything like that for the game here. So this should be good. Gonna go backwards in time here. So it's going to count all the way up, and I'm just going to show you a very, very basic way to bring it over to the next layout. That's why I didn't want to go too much in detail into it. It's just kind of an experimental feature that I was messing with that I thought might be cool to have in the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our win death layout and our menu layout, and to do this, we already have the map, the TMX file that would correspond to the sprite sheet that we would need. So let's set up our layout. Let's make it 1280 by 720. And we can give ourselves some more margins if we really need to, but we might be okay. And really all we need is the window size. So it really doesn't matter what size this is. This could just be as small as the window, but what we're going to do is we're going to grab our background. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this layer, we're going to say transparent yes, and we're going to rename this to be background, and we're just going to grab from our objects our object background. Is it in a level? It is. We're going to grab object background and put it, maybe we'll make it a little bit bigger. We'll put it like right there. And we can just kind of leave it at that. It doesn't really have any importance other than to look like our level. Let's make another layer here, and let's call this, let's think what we want to call this. Let's call this our tile map. And this is for the win death layout. So what we want to do is we want to actually duplicate our tile map level. So let's actually, or you know what, let's double click. Let's copy all of this. Let's make a new tile map object. We probably could have ended up cloning it, but I'd rather just make a new one altogether. So let's see what we can do here. Let's paste this and let's enlarge the canvas, and let's exit out. And let's call this tile map win death. And it actually doesn't really matter. We could probably just call it tile map menu now that I think about it, because we're going to be using this for the menu as well. What we're going to do is we're going to select this tile map, and we're going to go over here, and we're going to say import tmx object menu tile map. And just like that, we are done. So let me actually snap this to the grid so it actually aligns. And I'm going to do exactly this for the main menu. This is going to be our menu as well as our win death layout. So to do that, I'm going to right click duplicate, and I'm going to call this menu layout. We're going to have to make our own event sheet for it, but now we have our menu layout with the exact same thing that we need, which is perfect because this is exactly what we needed. So I wanted I probably could have duplicated it later down the road now that I think about it. So maybe we'll do that, and maybe we'll just set all this stuff up right now. So let's delete that. Let's go back and let's just finish setting this up, and then we'll actually put in the other stuff. So what we want to do here for our win death layout is we actually want to have our panel. So let's go, I'm trying to think here. Let's rename this to be our stats. And then we're going to make another layer, and let's call this our credits. At least this is what I was doing for the demo here. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click, add a new sprite, open from our assets, and we're going to go to our, where did I put it? In our menu, and we're going to grab our UI panel. And we're going to need to make this UI panel a whole lot smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and change the size, and I'll make it 160 by 160. Now this is going to be the perfect size for this specific menu. I'm going to move this over. I'm going to turn the grid on so I can actually see. I want to move this down and over right about there. I want to get this to be in between these pixels, this cell and this cell. There we go. You never really have to snap to grid at the origin point. I mean, I really like to have things snap to grid at the origin point because it makes your life easier, but you can always use the arrow keys and go back, which is kind of just overlooked, I think. So now we kind of have our menu set up where I am happy with these two things. These are our backgrounds, I guess. You could put them on their own layer if you really want to, because they really have no meaning other than looking cool, but I would like to keep them on separate layers. So this is going to be the credits layer, actually, and then this we're going to move to the stats layer. Let me move that up now that I moved it down by accident. And let's put it here. But what we could do, let me just mess around with this, is we could put the origin to the top left, and then in theory it should be able to snap to the top left corner without me having, like, just like that. Okay, so it's a lot easier. But you could also do the arrow keys, doesn't really matter. All right, let's add in some text. Now, this is the part where we're going to be adding in lots of the same sprite fonts, and this is just a sprite font that I found that I'll show you in the next lecture when we go to the store. But really, I'm just kind of messing around with different fonts for the game. Whatever font you choose for the game, I would prefer that you would keep it consistent. This is what I would prefer when I'm playing your game. So make sure you keep your fonts consistent. Let's hit play and actually see how this looks now that I see this. I think I moved something or something happened here. What is going on? Huh. I don't know where that background is coming from. I see it, but I don't know where it's coming from. It doesn't bother me. I wonder if I just need to refresh my construct 2. Sometimes you do need to refresh your construct 2 every now and then when things appear that you don't know existed. And I can also erase these tiles and I can add them back, which is a really, really awesome feature if I remember which tile it was. I'm seeing that this tile has some kind of background to it, which doesn't make sense. Unless it's because I copied it and therefore I was given in that case, I have to go to this tile map object here. I have to zoom in on it. Oh, I see what happened. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is just gonna open up. I was trying to be cool and I copied and pasted over that, and I didn't actually have the transparency that I needed. I just copied and pasted right over it. I was like, what is going on? And now, of course, my grass tile is gone, so let me put that back. Oh man, let's just re-import this before I mess this up even further. We're gonna grab this. Make sure you always go back to your normal layout view. No, don't save. We're gonna go here and we're gonna re-import the menu tile map, and now everything's back to normal. Okay. All right, so what we're gonna do is we are going to lock the tile map so I can't touch it anymore. And on the credits, I'm gonna double click and I'm gonna add a new sprite font. Now this is the sprite font I'm going to use for a lot of things here, because you can get away with things that don't need things that are static, things that we can actually use. So I'm just going to grab this and I'm going to switch this to be the width of 8 because that's how the sprite font is set up. I'm going to scale this up to be 2 so we can actually see this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this SF menu font. Now this is going to be static for anything that is the menu font. Let me actually also change the alignment of this a little bit. Let's put this to the center, and let's put the vertical alignment to the center as well. And the hotspot can be, let's think what happens when I do this and this. Perfect. So now this is pretty centered. What I want to do here is, actually, you know what I could even do is I could put the vertical alignment to the top. Or no. Is it this? Nope, never mind. What I want to do here is I just want to give it the text of credits. And with this, if I give it a capital letter, it's going to be gold. Everything in caps is going to be gold lowercase. Everything in lowercase is going to be blue, which is a really nice feature that I like to have. Let's call this stats. So capital S, and I'll stick with that theme. So now we have our stats and our credits panel for the end. Let's actually add in our menu. So to add in our menu here, I'm just going to right click, rename this to be our menu. I'm going to move this down and I'm going to double click and add a sprite for, now this object that I'm about to add is a huge object. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the other frame here, open this up and grab this. And actually I added them in backwards. So we're going to have this one be the first and this one be the second. This is our huge object. I can't even begin to stress how big this object is. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to mess around with this a little bit. We're going to call this our object. Let's think of a cool name for this. Let's call this our object menu box. And this object menu box is going to get an instance variable. And this instance variable is going to be its ID, or let's just call it, no, we can call it ID and hit OK. So the object menu box gets its own ID, and that's very important because we're going to have a lot of duplications of this. So for instance, this one, I'm going to make this 96 by 24, and that's going to be our restart there. But what we're going to do for our stats, I'm going to copy and paste, and I need to, let me undo that. Let me put this guy back. Let me move this to the layer stats. This is going to be, for instance, I don't want this to be ID number 0 and number 1. We're going to change this. I want this to be like ID 11 and ID 12. So let's do that. Let's put this as ID 12 and this is ID 11. ID 12, we're going to make it bigger. We're going to make this 128 by 32. And you can see here that the origins off a little bit, and that's okay because I can just adjust this with the arrow keys. But out of curiosity, since we're here, if we put the origin to the top left, and now we have to apply this to a whole animation because we have 2 frames here. And when I hit play, just to show this to you, it's going to kind of freak out. We could leave it at the top left for now, but if it messes up, we might want to change it. A good thing to do is to snap it to the grid and then move it over 16 because it's a 32 by 32 grid. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Much faster way is just to edit the position, subtract 16. Let's actually move this up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do that for over here too. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's move this guy. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yep, that's good. And let's copy this down. And of course, as I did that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right. So let's control click both of these guys. Let's move them to their own layer. Oops. Where did they go? Control click to copy. Move to layer credits. Put them over here. And same thing applies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And there we go. Now we're set up and ready to go. So we're going to put some text over this. That doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the ID. So this is going to be 11, 12. I actually don't even think that those need to be 11 and 12. But for right now, we'll call them 11, 12. And we would call this one, 13. We'll call this one 14. And we'll call this one 15. I think we'll change those because I don't think there's going to be that many buttons. But really what is going to happen is we're going to put our mouse over this, and when we click it, it's going to check the ID. And if that ID equals it, it's going to perform that action for that ID. And that's what's important. All right. I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing me talk. The menu stuff is, I guess, it's more dull than building gameplay, but it's actually really hard to find a really nice menu system, in my opinion, for Construct 2. So hope that this is really eye-opening to you and that you're going to like this, especially how we program this and when we do our pause menu and stuff like that. So what we're going to do here, just to finish this off, is this is how cool this is. We can just clone this object type, and we can just call this Floofs. Let's make it cool. So to make it cool, I have to do F, L, O, O, F in uppercase, lowercase, so I can get different colors. S, then, sure. And let's scale this up even further. Let's go 4. Let's make this really big, like so. And let's just move this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And let's keep going. Just because I think it would look better. Something like that. Let's call this SF logo. And what we're going to do for the logo is we're going to add 2 sign behaviors. Sign 1. Sign 2. If you didn't know that you could add multiple behaviors of the same nature, you can. And when you combine sign behaviors, you have a huge advantage. So what we're going to do for this sign behavior is we're going to make this an angle. And this angle is going to have a magnitude of 2 because anything bigger would look ridiculous. Then what we're going to have for the second sine wave is a size. And let's think what else we want to do. Period of 4. Magnitude of 1. Let's hit save. Let's hit play and disregard if these guys twitch, but this should look pretty good. If that disappeared, I'm not sure why that disappeared. Let's put the origin to the bottom here. That's what we want to do. Horizontal alignment to the center, vertical alignment to the bottom, and it should rotate around the bottom, or you could actually have it rotate around the center. That might look better. Let's see how that fares. That should be a lot better. I don't know why it's rotating from there. That's a new one. Unless I didn't do something correct with the sine waves. Oh. No, the period's 4. Hotspot. That's what I was missing. Needs to be, let's put this in the center. Let's put that over there. And and let's hit save. Let's move this up a few. And let's hit save, and let's hit play. And now that should kind of move more like the logo that we want, which is a nice effect. I don't know why it's disappearing. It might be disappearing because this is not big enough. The sprite font needs to be large. Let's just make sure that this doesn't interfere with anything else. So when I lock this layer, yeah, that should be fine. We can put this on our own layer if we really want to. Let's see if that fixes our one error. And it does. It just needed to be bigger because since we scaled it up to be so big, it was just kind of hiding because of the scale. So there we go. Let's right click on our win def layout and duplicate. Let's call this our main menu. Let's hit save. Let's go to our main menu, and now we need to fix a few things for our menu layout here. The first thing we need to fix is we're actually going to flip the size of these buttons. So what I want to have for this is I actually just want to bring this guy over here. Let's show the grid again. And I actually want to bring this guy down here. Actually, let's put him up here, control click down there. We can get, we're not going to get rid of this. What we're going to do is we're just going to put this down to 96 by 24. So we just kind of flip these. 96 by 24, I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to copy this just like that, and I'm going to do this, this, and this, and all I'm doing is holding down control click, and that worked pretty well. I'm very, very pleased with that. Let's rename this to be our controls. Let's rename this to be our options. So what we're going to do here is we're going to rename, oops. All right, so we clearly have some things to fix here, as I'm seeing that things are on different layers. But for the most part, this worked out pretty well. These buttons need to go to the menu layer, so let's move those to the menu layer, and let's lock it. Or no, let's not lock it because I don't know what these are on yet. Let's select all of these, and we're just holding down control, move this to the layer of options, which is going to be the credit layer. So select, right click, move to layer options, and make sure that it's on options, and lock. Well, we can't lock options because now we need to move these guys. Let's move it to the layer stats, and then let's rename stats to be controls. Let's hide that. There we go. Menu, options, tile map, background. Awesome. So that was a lot faster than I thought it would be. It was just kind of setting this up. That took a little bit longer. We're going to put in text, and we're going to make everything else look a lot nicer in the next lecture. Or you know what? No, we're going to do that now so we can just spend the next lecture programming this. One of the things that may have been bothering you is we've been keeping this as layout 1. So let's rename this. Let's call this our game layout. And let's call this, I like to call them my managers. So let's call this my game manager, especially when you have a layout that has 143 events. We are actually going to be adding in a whole lot more events, but it's going to go by really quickly now that we've done all of this prep work. So let's add in our sprite fonts here. And let me just show you one more thing as to why this is really cool. So for the options menu, I can just right click. I don't have to do anything. I can just control copy this. And now because it's a copy, but more so because it's a sprite font, I can actually independently edit this as if it was an instance. So what I can do here is I can scale this down to 1. And it's only going to affect this. It's not going to affect the global thing there. So this is going to become my mute SFX button. So I'm going to call this mute SFX, just like that. And now I can control click this, and this is going to become my mute music button. I'm going to control click this, and this is going to become my full screen button. And I'm going to control click and copy again, and this is going to become my back button. And what I'm going to do here is just move this up 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Yeah, that looks about right. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Kind of gotta eyeball it after you have already lined it up to whatever the grid is. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. But you could also just mess around with the hotspots and whatnot. Depends on what you want to do. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to copy this over, And we're going to call it now start game. Control click this down. We'll call this controls. Actually, let's call this one options. That was kind of bothering me before. And we'll call this one controls. And we'll move this over 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We'll move it over 16 and up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go 3. And let's do this for both of these to make this faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. And now what we can do is we can just copy this over here, holding down control, and call this WASD. Let's control click this. Actually, no, let's keep with the theme here. WASD. Let's call this our arrow keys. Let's control click and copy again and call this our gamepad. Then let's grab our back button and put that over there. And let's do it for all of these since they're already aligned. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That should be good. Okay, so the whole reason why we can do this is because the individual IDs, it's going to be kind of annoying to grab these now. The individual IDs for the menu boxes is what's important. It's not the text, and we can always change the text, and it's the same exact text object, just like it's the same box object. So we kind of have one issue here, and that was because I didn't put them on their appropriate layers. So let me select all of these, put this to the menu, select all of these, and put this to the to the controls layer. And now the only issue is actually selecting those boxes and giving them names. That is really our only issue. And to combat that, what we could do is we could just kind of move everything and we can put it on its own layer. And that might be the easiest way of doing it. So I'll just do that real fast. Call this our box. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to grab all of the actual boxes. See how the sprite fonts are in the way? I might have to grab the bottom there. I'm going to right click, move to layer box, and I have to move that underneath. And that way, see, this sprite font's a little too big, so I kind of messed myself up here. But if I move these guys over, 1, 2, 3, 4, nope, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, oh, I got to move these guys all the way over. And let's just do it this way. And I will redo it. Let's put this to the box layer. This now needs to go. Okay, hold on. And this is just going to save you a headache in the future. Let's put all of this, move to layer box. What layer are these on? These guys are now going to the box layer, and then the Z order is going to be at the bottom. All right. And we're going to grab these guys, and hopefully they'll kind of just be really nice to us this time and move over like so. And let's just move them all up 7 pixels. Control click all of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, let's go. Nah, 7's fine. All right, so there we go. Let's hit save. And now what I've been able to do and why I did it this way was, before I didn't have a box layer in my demo because I didn't think that I would need it, but it's really hard to grab the boxes, and that's what you need to do. We need to be able to just kind of not see those, grab the IDs. So this is going to be the start game, so it's going to be ID 0. This is going to be the options or controls, whatever one I did. I think I did options this time. That's going to be ID 1. Controls is going to be ID 2. Then we'll go here. This will be 3. This will be 4. This will be 5. This will be 6. This will be 7. This will be 8. This will be 9. And this will be 10. Let's save that, go to our WinDef layout. This will be 11. This will be 12, 13, 14, 15. Wow, that worked out perfectly. I swear I didn't do that on purpose. All right then. So that worked out pretty well. Let's add in our text for over here for our WinDef layout. And actually, what we're going to do for this text is a little bit different. For the credits, I won't put any credits in. Well, actually here. Ooh, there's an extra box there. For the credits, it's just kind of an extra space. You might want to put more stats there or something like that, something cool. But it's not letting me copy. Oh, it's because I only have the box layer. I was like, why can't I copy that? I'm so used to doing it that way. We can put in, you know, whatever name you want to call yourself. Put in Jerementor. There we go. So there's some credits. What we really need here is we need our restart button. So let me put this here, and I'll move it to the correct layer. I can also move it to the layer here. I can just put it to the menu layer. Let's call this our restart, and let's control click this guy over here then. What we want to do here is we actually want to do something different for that. So how are we going to do this? What we want to do is we want to grab our coin count, and to grab our coin count, we're going to, let me think about what I want to do about that. We can actually just grab the coin from the HUD. At least we should be able to in theory. So what we're going to do, and this is something we're going to be talking about. Actually, you know what? No, we're not going to do it yet, because that's going to leave it in the same position. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually need to program this and store it. You know what? We're going to save that for the next lecture, where we program all of these menus now that they're all set up and ready to go. I think that was enough anyway. It was kind of just boring design talk, but now we actually have our menus to go to, which is really cool. Let's add the event sheet for our main menu. Let's call this our menu events. And let's go to our main menu here and actually give it the event sheet of menu events. Let's hit save. Then let's actually add in the other event sheets that I might want to have. For example, let's have our paused events. Let's add another event sheet for our music manager, and one more for our SFX manager, and hit save. All right, so now we're starting to actually have a project that is really shaping up with a whole bunch of stuff in it. Is there anything else that I'm missing here for this lecture? This was kind of just the fill-in lecture before we finish off programming. Oh, I am missing one more thing. Let's go to View. Let's go to our first layout, and let's put this to our main menu. Actually, you know what? Let's just leave it at the game layout for right now, because we don't have any controls on the main menu. But now, if we just hit play on the main menu, we should be able to see the icon move. Awesome. So that's what it will eventually look like, and everything will be hooked up with sound. All of these will work. This will actually go to local storage, and it'll be really cool. So there's a whole bunch more to program here, but we are in the home stretch. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.